Hey guys, welcome to ITI1120. Today I would like to talk about the third lab. So today we will learn the Boolean expressions, if statements, and debugging. Let's start. In today's lab, you have 3 tasks to finish. Please try to do those tasks at home. And besides these 3 tasks, you have 5 programming exercises. You can find all today's lab materials in Brightspace. It's under the Labs tab, and the file is named Lab3 students.zip file. Please download this zip file and unzip it. You can read the slides one by one and follow the instructions explaining what to do. If you are stuck, you can ask for help from TA. Ideally, you should try to complete some or all of these at home, and then use the lab as a place where you can get help with things you may have had difficulties with. Before starting, please make sure that you are running Python 3. So when you open the idle shell, you can check the Python version you are using in here. Here I'm using Python 3.9. While for this course, please make sure that you are running Python 3. There are two important operators in Python, the integer division operator and the remainder operator. Actually, in Lab 2, we have talked about these 2 operators. Here, I would like to briefly explain these 2 operators. If you still have trouble using them, please watch the Lab 2 video. So the first operator, the integer division. How to compute these 2 values? First is to compute the quotient of a divided by b. So a divided by b here is a single slash. While if there is a double forward slash, then it means the integer division, and it is equal to the whole part of x. X is a quotient in this one. More precisely, it is equal to the integer that is closest to the quotient x. However, it is not bigger than the quotient x. So the remainder of a divided by b is equal to this formula. Next is the task 1. What is the type and value of each of the following expressions in Python? Do this in your head first. Then check both columns in Python shell. You can test what kind of value the first expression returns by typing type. In the bracket is an expression in Python shell. So here we can see that for the first expression, the value, you should calculate the value in your head first. It is 1.3, and the type of the output is float. After you have finished this in your head, you can verify your answers in the Python shell. Here we can check the value we calculate, whether it is correct or not. We can type 13 multiply 0.1. The result is 1.3. It's here. And then we can check the type of the result. Let's use the type function. Type 1.3, it is float. So here the type is float. So please do the following expressions in your head firstly, and then check them in the Python shell. Next part is the interactive textbook. You can find the interactive textbook in this link. And the task 2, you can find the task 2 in this link. However, for some reason, this link doesn't work for me. And I have no idea why, so hopefully this link works for you. Okay, the first programming exercise about coding and debugging. Here you can open the file named Q0 q0.py and solve the 3 programming exercises as instructed. You can find the q0.py file in the materials you download. You download it from the Brightspace. It's here. I will open the file using the Python shell. My file is in the Lab3 students folder. It's here. It's this one. So in the first exercise is to create a string s. Here the variable is named s, and and a string is assigned to it, such that print s command below prints the exact same message as the above print statement. Once you are done, uncomment the 2 lines of code below. So here in the first exercise, there is a function named inferDay, and in this line we call this function inferDay with 3 parameters: setDay, ninth, and 29. After this, we will print Saturday is a nice day. The temperature is 29 degrees Celsius. So here, you can create a string that is exactly the same message print in the function. Next exercise is to firstly uncomment the 3 to 4 lines of the code starting with def below. It's here, those code, and run the program. It will crash. So why does it crash, and can you fix it without changing the function call? Let's read. B. Here you can see that the parameter of the function, it is not a variable, it is string. So it's invalid here. You need to change this part. The third exercise is to rewrite the following program so that it computes the average in a function called average of 2. So in this function, in this exercise, you need to create a function named average of 2. And it obtains the input from the user, and printing of the result must still be outside of the function. Make sure to write docstrings for your function, including type contract. Test it by running help average of 2 in Python shell. Talking about the docstrings and type contract, let's see an example here. I have a file named lab3.py. I will open it. It's in the desktop. Lab3.py. Okay, it's this file. So in this file, there is a function named square sum, and the function accepts 2 parameters, n1 and n2, and the return is just n1 square plus n2 square. So here is the docstring of the function. You can write the docstring using the triple single quotes. Here I use the triple single quotes, or using the triple double quotes, like this. So you can use any type of the docstring. And here is my type contract. The type contract is about the type of the parameter of the function. Here, the type of n1 is number. The type of n2 is also a number. And here is the return type of the function. So the return type of the function square sum is also a number. After you finish this function with docstring, you can check the docstring with the help method. Let's see, firstly I will run the module of this. I will save it firstly and then run it. After that, I will type help with the function name. Here it shows the docstring of the function. Okay, so same with this function you will create the average of 2. You need to write the docstring and also the type contract. And you can test it by running the help average of 2 in the Python shell. Okay, next part is the Boolean expressions. Boolean expressions evaluate to true or false. The logical or Boolean operators in math and Python is here. And, or, not. Here is how you compare two variables, a and b, in math and Python. Here, if you compare whether a is equal to b, you use the double equal sign. And here is whether a is smaller than or equal to b. Here is whether a is larger than or equal to b. Here is whether a is not equal to b. This is a truth table. A truth table for compound Boolean expression shows the result for all possible combinations of the simple expressions. Like here, x and y. Both x and y are false. So x and y is false. X or y is also false. Not x is true. Here x is true, y is false. X and y is false. X or y is true. Not x is false. Here this one, not x, it should be true. And this one, not x, is false. So these two are opposite. And x and y, only when both x and y are true, x and y is true. Otherwise, x and y is false. X or y, as long as either x or y is true, then this expression is true. Testing if two strings are equal. Here, for one of the programming exercise, you will need to know that how to compare if two strings are equal. You can do that simply by using the double equal sign operator. Here are some examples. Test whether these two strings are equal. We use the double equal sign operator. Here is true, true, false. Because here, the uppercase a is not equal to the lowercase a here. You can try some expressions in the Python shell. Here are some examples of compound Boolean expressions. This is how you would test if age is at least 18 and at most 65. You can test this one using age is larger than or equal to 18 and age is smaller than or equal to 65. Not is an operator to negate the value of a simple or compound Boolean expression. Suppose age is equal to 15, then age is larger than 16 is false, and not age is larger than 16 is true. Not here is an operator to negate value of a Boolean expression. Suppose day refers to a string which is a day of a week. Here is how you would test if day is a weekend. The day is equal to Saturday or the day is equal to Sunday. Here are two ways to test if age is less than 18 and greater than 65. Think about these two ways. The first way, age is less than 18, age is smaller than 18, and age is larger than 65. And the second way is not. Age is larger than or equal to 18, and age is smaller than or equal to 65. The task 3, if statements. Follow all the links below, read, run, and do the exercises in each of them. No need to watch the videos. You can find these links to do the Boolean expressions, the if statement, nested if statement, and the chained conditions like if else, if else if, else if else, something like that. Here is a part of the docstrings. We have talked about it before. So make sure you write the docstrings for your function, including the type contract. And you can test your docstrings using the help method, help bracket. Inside the bracket is your function name. Next part is the question 1. It's the second question for today's lab. Write function called pay that takes as input an hourly wage and the number of hours an employee worked in the last week. The function should compute and return the employee's pay. Overtime work should be paid in this way. Any hours beyond 40 but less than or equal to 60 should be paid at 1.5 times the regular hourly wage. Any hours beyond 60 should be paid at 2 times the regular hourly wage. The important thing is that I didn't give you either the number of parameters or the names of parameters. You will have to figure it out on your own for this function. Looking at the test examples below should help. Like the function is named pay. So you need to create a function named pay. And the function has 2 parameters. So the first parameter is the hourly wage. And the second parameter is the number of hours an employee worked. And inside this function, you should check whether the hours has been beyond 40 and less than 60 or has been beyond 60. Because in different number of hours, the wage is different. The hourly wage is different. Okay, this is the axis 1. The axis 2, which is the third axis, because today's axis starts from 0, right? So the axis 2 is rock, paper, and scissors. It's a 2-player game in which each player chooses one of 3 items. If both players choose the same item, the game is tied. Otherwise, the rules that determine the winner are: rock always beats scissors. Scissors always beats paper. Paper always beats rock. So write a function called RPS takes the choice R, P, or S of player 1 and the choice of player 2 and returns -1 if player 1 wins, 1 if player 2 wins, or 0 if there is a tie. Note that for this function, I still didn't give you either the number of parameters or the names of parameters. You will have to figure it out on your own. Please see the test cases below here. The function name should be RPS. Right, and it accepts 2 parameters. The first parameter is the choice of player 1, and the second parameter is the choice of player 2. Besides this, you need to know how to accept user input from the keyboard. In this file, there is an example that accepts user input from the keyboard using the input method. While for this one, it changes the input to float. However, for this one, the input should be R, P, or S. It's not a float, it's a string. So you don't need to change the input to float here. Look, this is the second exercise, and the third exercise. Open a new file with idle. Write a program that has a function called isDivisible. The function isDivisible has 2 input parameters that are integers, n and m, and returns true if n is divisible by m and false otherwise. Outside of that function, your program should interact with the user to get two integers. To determine if the first is divisible by the second, it should call the isDivisible function. It should print a message explaining the result. Here are two example tests. Enter the first integer, it's 9. Enter the second integer, it is 3. So 9 is divisible by 3. You should print a message like this. And here is another example. 8 is not divisible by 3. So we can use the remainder operator in Python to check whether the first integer is divisible by the second integer. Okay, and it's still this question, but it's the second part. Open a new file with idle. Write a program that has two functions. One called isDivisible. So isDivisible is the function, is this function you have right. There's this one. And in this part, you have to write another function named isDivisible 2, 3, and 8. The function isDivisible is the same as the previous question, so you can copy or paste it to the beginning of the new file. This function has one input parameter, an integer. It should return string yes if the given number is divisible by 2 or 3 but not 8. Otherwise, it should return a string no. Your function must make a call to its divisible function. So inside your function is divisible 2, 3, and 8. You should call this function isDivisible. Outside of that function, your function should interact with the user to get one integer. It should call this function isDivisible 2, 3, and 8 function to determine if the number the user gave is divisible by 2 or 3 but not 8. It should print a message explaining the result. Here is the message it prints. Here are some test cases. So in this function, in this new file, you have two functions. One function is named isDivisible. It is exactly the same as the previous question. So you just copy and paste your previous function into this new file. And there is another function named isDivisible 2, 3, and 8. Inside this function, you should call the isDivisible function. And outside the isDivisible 2, 3, and 8 function, you should ask the user to input an integer and then call the isDivisible 2, 3, and 8 function. Let's see an example here. So user input an integer 18. 18, you should print something like this. 18 is divisible by 2 or 3, but not 8. The last question, the bonus question, for those who are done and want to more programming exercise for the lab or home, follow this link and complete any or ideally all exercises here. It's so sad that I can't access this website, so hopefully you can access this link. Okay, I think that's all for today's lab. If you have any questions or if you are stuck at some problems, feel free to ask TAs. That's all for today. So, thank you guys, bye.